Okay, let's take a look at this problem. We want to graph the function fx equals negative the absolute value of x minus 1 minus 2. So when we work on this problem, now first we have to tell what is the basic function here. Now the basic function here, let me take a screenshot. The basic function here is the absolute value function y equals the absolute value of x. And then next, we need to determine how many transformations does this function involve. So there is a horizontal shift, right? And there is a vertical shift. So there is a horizontal translation and a vertical translation, and because we are adding a negative 1 in front of the function, so there's also a reflection. Okay, and we said in my previous video, we said that if we have a sequence of transformations, we are going to do the reflection, and then we do the horizontal shift, and then the vertical shift. So the first transformation we're gonna graph is the reflection. So we define a function gx equals negative the square root of x So I will start with our basic function. Okay, now when we add a negative sign in front of the function, this is x-axis reflection. So we're gonna turn over the graph. We're gonna turn it over the x-axis. So let me use a different color. So we're gonna get this. So this is will be the graph of the gx. Okay, now the next one is gonna be the horizontal translation. So this time we are subtracting a 1 from the x. This is a 1. Okay. So since we are subtracting a 1, we're going to shift the graph to the right for 1 unit. So I'm gonna shift this blue one to the right for 1 unit. Then I will get something like this. So this red one is the graph of g of x minus 1, which is negative the absolute value of x minus 1. Okay, then we minus 2. So then fx is equal to g of x minus 1 minus 2. So we subtract 2 from the function. So now we're gonna shift this graph down. We're gonna shift it downward for 2 units. Let me go back to this corner. So then we will end up at here. Okay. Now, if we compare this result with the given options, the C is the most closest one. So therefore, we know the answer is C. Okay. Let me submit this answer. Okay, now it shows right. Okay, shows it is right. Now let me do another one. Okay. So we want to graph the function f(x) equals the square root of 3 minus x. Now over here, the basic function is y equals the square root of x. And if we simplify this expression, if we factor out -1, we can rewrite the function into negative x minus 3 parentheses. So now we can say this function, it involves two transformations. One is the horizontal translation. Another one is a y-axis reflection. So we're gonna do the y-axis reflection first. So we define the function gx, which equals the square root of negative x. So then I graph the basic function. Okay, so like this. So the graph of the gx is gonna be the graph of this basic function reflected about the y-axis. So I will get something like this. Okay, so this is the graph of this function. And next I will do this horizontal translation, because here we have x minus 3. So we're going to shift the graph to the right for 3 units. So therefore, the answer will be the first one. Okay. Right. The answer will be the first one. And we can also use the property of the transformations to graph a piecewise function. For example, here we have this piecewise function. And if we notice, for these two pieces, their basic functions is the same. Their basic function is y equals x squared. So let me go ahead to graph that. Okay, now so this piece, the one on the left, this piece is corresponding for when x is less than 0, because here all the inputs are negative number, and the piece on the right is corresponding to when x is greater than or equal to 0. Now, according to this transformation, we multiply this piece. We multiply the equation of this piece by 2. Now this is a vertical stretching So the result is we're gonna stretch the left curve up, so it will become something like this. And for the red curve, for the curve on the right side, we are adding a negative sign in front of the function. So this is a x-axis reflection. So the result is we're gonna turn this piece. We're gonna turn it over the x-axis. So it will be something like this. Okay. So after this, after we erase the original graph, this will be the graph of this piecewise function. And if we compare with the given options, you can see the answer is D.